And we welcome back to noise11.com. James Blount, fourth time down.
Great to be back here.
Welcome back to Australia.
Thank
Actually,
you very much.
4.5, because you were here for the iHeartRadio performance in Sydney just a few months ago as well.
Yeah, I mean, I've come down for some promo visits when I put an album out. A fair handful of times, but this is back on a tour proper.
Mm-hmm. And well, we should congratulate you, because in October it comes up to the 10th anniversary of Back to Bedlam. 10 years.
Time flies, doesn't it? Really. And for me, that's why this album was a kind of a little celebration of that in many ways, because I went back in the recording of Moon Landing, this new album. I went back to Los Angeles and went and found the man who had produced my first album, Back to Bedlam. His name's Tom Rothrock, really amazing man and friend to me. And his roots are in kind of independent recording artists, Beck and Elliott Smith, Bad Joy Boy, and me once upon a time when I was on Custard Records. But to go back and find him and record this fourth album, Moon Landing, in the same way, it was a proper journey for both of us.
Yeah, well, Custard still gets its logo on your new record, so I take it there still is an association. Yeah,
absolutely. I'm signed to an independent label, and I've got the muscle power of Warner, who can at least get it on radio stations around the world.
You've worked with multiple producers though on the individual tracks off the record.
A few. Tom Rothrock has been the bulk and the kind of the backbone of this album. And as I say, it was for a year that I really spent writing and recording in Los Angeles with him, locked away. Incredible patience for him, I think, to watch me moving around the studio, making a noise, and then coming the next day and trying to change it. But yeah, there are a couple of other people I've worked with along the way on this. One of them, obviously, Ryan Tedder, who I wrote Bonfire Heart with, which is the kind of the first single off this album.
Mm-hmm. And Ryan, you worked with on a couple of tracks on the previous album as well.
Yeah, totally. He and I are mates. We've done a handful of songs, and so for this time I jumped on his tour bus when One Republic were touring around Europe, and I was like a groupie to One Republic. I didn't have to put out, but
did you be honest?
What goes on tour stays on tour. Together on the road we wrote Bonfire Heart, which is a really fun song. It's about what everybody feels. That's why the words are simple. It says people like us. We don't need that much to someone to light the spark in our bonfire heart. And it's, I suppose I felt that really from watching his audience while he was playing in the same venues that I've played in before, and seeing that, all humans, no matter what kind of colour and creed, we're all want for the same thing.
And I guess with the previous songs on the album before with Ryan, you've really got a collection of songs with Ryan now. Have you developed a camaraderie with him or a partnership now with songwriting?
He's a mate, really. He's a mate, and it's easier writing with someone who's a friend, because because songs are not about having a shell and having some kind of sense of bravado about it. Songs really should be about opening up and confronting, you're confronting your fears, I suppose, not expressing just your strengths but your weaknesses too, being open and honest.
I guess, with somebody like Ryan, who actually writes for a lot of people, do you get called up to write for other people as well, or are your songs just for you?
I'm pretty selfish along the way. I'm asked to write for lots of people, and on the whole, I think I'm probably too lazy. I'm trying to just write, songs that mean something to me, that I can then record them and take them out on tour.
We have to go all the way back to your second album before we find you writing your own songs by yourself. Do you write songs just by yourself anymore?
Yeah, absolutely do. What I normally do, I suppose, is I write a song, I have an idea, and then I might, halfway through take it to someone like Ryan and say, this is where I'm at with this. Likewise, he'll do the same with me. I think, in the creative world, it's just nice to have someone's input along the way, so I don't repeat myself.
Moon Landing's been incredibly successful right around the world, especially in Australia for you. Platinum here again, platinum with the last album, platinum with the album before, 9 times platinum with the album before that. But did you have any reservations going in with Moon Landing? I mean, you've been so successful up until now.
I think, what I was doing with Moon Landing was I was trying not to think too much about it. I was trying not to think about an audience. And I suppose with my third album, some kind of trouble, I was playing in arenas and I was trying to fill those arenas with sound. And what do you do when you want to do that? You don't pick up an acoustic guitar, you pick up an electric and you write something up-tempo. And so what I was really doing is writing for the tour, writing with an audience in mind, which is great fun. but it's not necessarily as rewarding as why I got into music in the first place, which is to write songs about my personal experience for me instead, words I needed to say. And so I'm very much focused on writing these songs as songs, that mean something to me, that I then record them in a genuine, honest way with a man who was there before the audience, namely Tom Rothrock. And so the process and that journey with him was all about not thinking too hard, not thinking about the audience. And I think that's why people connect with it, because they can hear it's not contrived. They hear it's honest and genuine.
I guess the song Miss America is more observation than it is a personal experience. About Whitney Houston, is that correct?
Sure. It's observational about her and her downfall. It is from some experience of a singer and an audience. It's about the relationship between singer and audience, how you do open up and you allow people to look into your soul, to, as I was saying before, to see your weaknesses as well as your strengths, your fears as well as your hopes, and your failures too. And I suppose the thing with doing that is people then want to know more where a song has stemmed from, what makes you tick. And I suppose I relate to that with an audience. I relate to that experience with an audience. And then the observational part is seeing how we watched her downfall. We spectated on Whitney Houston's downfall. We went online to follow her downfall and bought magazines to see her at her worst, and how perhaps we enjoyed it a bit too much.
And I guess the difference between you and her from a fame perspective, very different levels of fame, isn't it? Because she became tabloid fodder. You've managed to avoid that.
I've had my moments, along the way. The tabloid media is something I've not felt necessarily very comfortable with, because I prefer things to stick around my job. I don't think you always get the choice, do you? You don't always get the choice. My phone was hacked. I certainly didn't ask them to.
But, certainly we don't see the ugly side of James Blunt being paraded out across the media around the world.
Not yet.
Not yet. Working on that. You're doing a pretty good job with the responses on Twitter, though. I must admit, I'm a big fan of your Twitter responses.
Thank you. You're very kind. I'm just messing around, really. I think Twitter's strange how we take it so seriously. Whenever there's a news blast on any news channel, they talk about, and there was a big, comment on Twitter, and you think, well, so what? People are commenting digitally, but there's a real world where people are, not only saying but doing as well. And so as a musician, people talk about the grief that some musicians might get, and I've had a bit. And we talk about, some people wrote some nasty words on Twitter, but thousands of people turned out to a concert, and those thousands bought albums, learnt songs, bought tickets, queued up outside a venue, bought hotel rooms to house them after the gig. We don't talk about those. We talk about the couple of guys, the three lone guys in their bedroom writing 5 nasty words on their smartphone. They probably had their trousers around their ankles at the time. And I find it hard to take that kind of thing very seriously. They couldn't even bother to turn up to the venue to say they didn't like the music. So it's worth laughing. It's worth laughing that I should even find it offensive.
Yeah, but I guess they can write the nastiest things about you, and you turn it totally around and make everyone laugh back. Yeah,
I mean, I suppose I'm just having fun with it in the same way that if someone asks me, will you retweet me? Will you retweet me? Will you follow me? Will you follow me? They're just as frightening because, they're the people my parents warned me about when I was a child. But the person being abusive, I think in a way that's fun. You can vibe off it and have a laugh.
Is this, because you've been in the army, war, a very ugly side of humanity? And, I guess compared to a few people being rude on Twitter, what you've seen in real life doesn't even compare.
I suppose having gone to a boarding school of all boys, having been in the army of generally all men, where actually to show warmth towards anyone, we are probably slightly abusive of them. You're polite to someone you don't know, but to someone you know and feel comfortable with, you're slightly abusive to in a friendly way. And so perhaps I just see it that way.
Because regardless of what people might tweet you on Twitter, the industry has been very supportive. I think there's been 5 Grammy nominations. You've got a couple of Brit Awards to your name, a couple of MTV Awards to your name, the Ivan Novello Awards to your name, which must be an honour, I guess, when the industry does recognise the work that you've done, which, quite frankly, is a lot of hard work over many, many years.
Yeah, I mean, it's a funny thing, I suppose. Awards are definitely... Of course, they're a nice thing to get. I mean, the industry set them up actually so that they can do big TV shows so that we can sell more records. Who's kidding who? The thing that's most rewarding for me is I'm just really incredibly lucky. I'm here back in Melbourne, half the other side of the planet from where I live, and people are turning up to a concert. And I get up on stage playing songs that mean something to me, that I love, with a band who are my friends. And for those people to be turning up is the greatest reward.
Well, I guess Moon Landing's still, fairly fresh. Are there any more songs that you plan? Is there album 5 swirling around the head at this point?
Yeah, at this stage, I'm still thinking about Moon Landing. I suppose having been locked away in a studio for a year, and just allowed out and starting to tour it, I haven't really thought about locking myself in another small room for a while yet.
When was the last time you wrote a song?
I was writing a chorus to a song about half an hour ago. Give me a couple of days and it'll be done.
Yeah? Share a few lyrics?
No.
A few words, James. We'll look for it in the future.
In the early writing phase of any song, you'll change a word and then take a third. And you'll have evidence because it's on camera.
Well, there's a few of us in the room. It might be less than a third. We'll have to share it round. Thanks, James Blount here at noise11.com.
Great stuff. It's really good to see you too.